Does anyone really know what hormones do? There is so much talk about women's hormonal health, but most women are left even more confused about what it means for them and what to do about it. The confusion ends now.
An award-winning German nutrition scientist created a powerful herbal formula called Hormone Harmony, which contains 12 powerful adaptogens into one single capsule. Each of these ingredients is carefully selected based on scientific evidence and has been proven effective in clinical studies for women of various ages and hormonal profiles.
Happy Mammoth, the company that produces Hormone Harmony, is famous for its zero compromise policy. No GMOs, artificial fillers or flavors, or any other junk. Only science-backed ingredients in amounts that are clinically proven.
What makes this formula unlike anything else on the market is that it tackles multiple hormone imbalances at the same time, creating a cascade of benefits all throughout the body and mind.
Hormone Harmony has over 50,000 raving reviews from women all over the world, with 98% of them saying they'd gladly recommend it to their friends and family.
For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code BLAME at checkout.
You can try Hormone Harmony risk-free and get 15% off your first order with code BLAME at checkout.
Paradise is back
It's finally here.
in a new location, Costa Rica. There will be adventure, drama, and romance,
All gas, no brakes. That's my vibe.
Ready to find some love.
but it wouldn't be paradise without surprises along the way.
These kids need to learn.
That's right, your favorite Golden alums are crashing the beach.
We bringing the party, baby.
Bachelor in Paradise premieres tonight at 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
Hello. Hi, welcome to a brand new episode of But Am I Wrong? Starring two people who have not once ever been
Wrong?
Nope, not once ever. It's a burden, and it's a burden that we happily take on. Welcome. So we've got different segments on this show. It's a fun, good time. Really, what you need to know about it is we want you to vote on who you think was wrong in each and every segment. We post those over on our Instagram story in the highlights. And you can write in about why you voted the way you did and, vote and then write about why you voted that way. And then we read the results on our See You Next Tuesday episode. So there's always a follow-up, which is fun in case like something new happens or whatever. And we've got a lot of shit talking in there.
I haven't done my Anthony Mackie impression in a long time.
Oh my goodness. Wait, by the way, I'm addicted to the Anthony Mackie dancing that's going viral right now.
I love seeing it.
It's so funny.
TikTok threads.
I also
What do you
because
call
like
it? The comments. Yeah.
Also because like I never realized that like to me I'm like that's such a unique Anthony Mackie face and dance move. Turns out it's not. Turns out that like that is a certain everybody has that in them. It just gets released at some point and it's so fun. It's so fun. And I always think about that girl who's like mad that she goes up to him with like his car window rolled down. And she's like, he was so mean. And I literally go back to that video all the time, just open the comments going, girl, you are very weird. Like, this was very weird.
Why would you do this to this man?
He is not
He
mean.
is such a joyful man all the time, except for when you invade his space and he's trying to pump gas.
In general, I find it crazy when, like, women get annoyed with, like, celebrities, male or, like, men or women, and, like, how they approach them. And I'm like, so sorry. At the end of the day, like, objectively, it is very weird to approach somebody in public who you do not know. You would feel uncomfortable if someone did that to you while you were pumping gas. Like that is not like this is a totally chill thing.
That's actually the most vulnerable time for a woman is when you're pumping gas. Do you know how many times? I know you don't pump your gas anymore for this reason. How many? Like it's so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable.
No, they literally are like, I have you here. Like literally every man. The interactions at a gas pump as if he's holding a fucking flamethrower. Like, that's how powerful he feels of being like, if you don't talk to me, I'm going to blow this place up. And it's like,
yeah,
Fuck off.
The oddest one I had was it was a while ago when I didn't even have the car that I have now, so it's been a long time.
I bet you get annoying attention
I
pumping
get
gas
so
in that
much
car.
annoying attention in this current car, but even the Ford Focus that I used to have.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
This man, it was when I still had my Arkansas tax, and this man came up to me and he like blocked me in basically, so I couldn't get out, but I was still pumping gas anyway. And then he was talking about how he was from Arkansas and was going on and on about it. But then he, like, I had a Razorback on the back of my car, and he asked me what that was.
Oh, so you're
and
like
I said,
creeping
"You're
a
a liar."
Uh-huh.
Because everyone from Arkansas knows what that is.
Even I do.
Yes.
Like, that's, no. So you're not just creepy, you're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand that. Justice for Anthony Mackie. Justice for Anthony Mackie, okay?
Yeah. He may disappoint us in the future, but he hasn't done it yet.
No, and also, like, you want celebrities to remain down to earth and pump their own gas? Then let them pump their own fucking gas.
Right.
It's not clocking to you that he was standing on business. Unless I can't stop doing it. Like, the way that Mons and I do it every single day, it is not clocking to you that I am standing on business. It's almost turning me into doing the Keith Lee dance. Like, I, like, need a transition between it's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business.
It's so, but like they weren't listening to him.
No, I was like, okay, it clearly is not clocking.
It's not clocking, even though he used some of the words incorrectly, some of the phrases he did use incorrectly, but
the sentiment,
his heart was there. And if you can use context clues, he was saying, "Get the fuck out my face. I am having a private dinner. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone, you creepy strangers. I don't know you." And this is why Justin Bieber doesn't pump his own gas.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Does he drive? He doesn't seem like he would.
No. I bet he has a Segway. I could see him zipping around in the No, I agree, but I could see him zipping around in the Hollywood Hills. I bet Ellen gave him a Segway at some point. Can't you just see that? Ellen being like, "Here you go, Justin." And he's just...
But then he was like creeped out because he was like, "I'm not joining your record label." And then she's like, "Fine, I'll go make my own."
Yeah, I got Grace and Chance up in here.
That's
We don't
what I'm
need
talking
you.
about. Her own little Bieber.
She had like 9
Have
of
you
those.
seen his recent videos?
Isn't he talking about how Ellen's weird?
Yes, he's been talking shit about her. Basically, how she was trying to make him Justin Bieber.
Yeah, everyone did. Every label was like, we need a young boy with flippy hair.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the flippy hair, Austin Mahomes. Which one's the one that's
I think
the
that's
football?
the football player.
Then Mahone. Yeah, Mahone.
Yeah.
A singular Mahone.
Mm-hmm.
Not the multiples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a podcast. And we hope you enjoy. No, my God, I just started doing our outro. We literally just started. So sorry, everybody. Hopefully Meghan can pick up her meds.
Yeah.
So we have our first segment, which is But Am I Wrong? Where we pitch to the other person a hot take or a rant or a venting session, anything, or something that's happening in our life that we want to know if we're in the wrong about. And that's how we start.
And my hot take is, I read this article in the New Yorker that was titled, "Is this the end of the separation of church and state?"
Well, that sounds uplifting.
Yeah. The justices who have steadily eroded prohibition on government sponsorship of religious schools now seem ready to end them entirely. That was the subtitle.
Fun.
And my hot take is that separation of church and state never really existed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we often speak of the separation of church and state as a bedrock principle of American democracy, a clear and unyielding wall. We hear it invoked in a political debate, legal arguments, and everyday conversations, but I stand before you today to challenge that very notion. I contend that separation of church and state has never truly existed in this country, and it's time we stop pretending like it did. This is a critical examination of our history and our present. The idea of a rigid separation, while aspirational for some, has consistently been blurred, challenged, and at times outright ignored throughout American history. So let's start with the hard truth from our past. Just a few years ago, in November 2019, Episcopal Bishop of New York, Andrew M.L. Dietz, addressed his clergy, revealing an uncomfortable truth about the diocese's past. He stated that slavery was deeply embedded in colonial New York's life and economy, and that the Episcopal churches across the state often participated in it. This wasn't just individual churchgoers, church founders, and even churches themselves enslaved people. Think about it. The renowned abolitionist Sojourner Truth was once enslaved by a church within that very diocese. Then the bishop continued and said, the Diocese of New York played a significant and genuinely evil part of American slavery. We must make where we can repair. This powerful admission led to a unanimous vote by the clergy to allocate $1.1 million of the diocese endowment for reparations fund. Why a church has that much money? I don't know. This wasn't an isolated, but that's not the point of this.
I always have questions about that.
This wasn't an isolated event. Over a decade prior, in 2006, the national leadership of the Episcopal Church, which is approximately 90% white, called on its churches to examine how they benefited from slavery. Since then, the Episcopal dioceses in Georgia, Texas, Maryland, and Virginia have initiated similar programs, engaging in activities from putting up plaques and acknowledging the enslaved labor to committing parts of their endowments to reparations. Other predominantly white denominations have followed suit. The Presbyterian Church in 2004 and the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America in 2019 passed resolutions to study their roles in slavery and had begun the process of determining reparations. This isn't merely about financial redress. Reverend Velda Love, a minister for racial justice at the United Church of Christ, explained, it's not just writing a check from churches. We want to have grounded learning, both biblically and theologically, around why reparations are due. These efforts represent the most sustained church activism since Black churches were on the front lines of the civil rights movement. As Reverend Hamlin, Minister for Economic Justice at the United Church of Christ, affirmed, our faith requires us to do something. This is what God calls us to do. And then another example, Georgetown University of Jesuit Institute voted in 2019 to create a reparations program to atone for its 1838 sale of 272 enslaved people. Virginia Theological Seminary, Union Presbyterian Seminary, and Princeton Theological Seminary have followed the path. While Baptists in the South were prominent defenders of slavery, other denominations, including the Presbyterian Church, the Episcopal Church, and the Lutheran Church, and the Catholic Church, and numerous religious educational institutes, benefited directly or indirectly from enslaved labor. Their wealth was deeply intertwined with slave trade. Even into the 20th century, churches and their clergy actively advocated for policies of segregation and redlining. The 15th century Christian text, the Doctrine of Discovery, was used to legitimize imperialism and the brutal treatment of indigenous people. From 1869 to the 1960s, which isn't that long ago, hundreds of thousands of indigenous children were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in boarding schools run by Christian denominations, where assimilation efforts often involved torture and neglect. The Minnesota Council of Churches, a coalition of 27 denominations representing over 1 million people, launched a reparations program in 2020 focusing on history of Native American boarding schools and anti-Black violence. Reverend Jim Bear Jacobs, co-director of racial justice at the Minnesota Council of Churches, argued, there is no salvation without reparations, drawing on the biblical narratives. These deeply embedded historical realities demonstrate that churches and states, far from being separate, have often been collaborators, beneficiaries, and shapers of each other's actions for good or ill. The historical entanglement is undeniable. What about the present? The phrase separation of church and state traces back to Thomas Jefferson's 1802 letter to the Dansbury Baptists promising a wall of separation. Yet, as Teresa Smallwood, a postdoctoral fellow at the Public Theological and Racial Justice Collaborative, argues, the wall is visibly crumbling. That article that I mentioned earlier, from the New Yorker, highlights this erosion, detailing how the Supreme Court has steadily eroded prohibitions on government sponsorships of religious schools. This shift often stems from cases where The Establishment Clause preventing government establishments of religion and the Free Exercise Clause protecting religious practices without interference appear to be in tension, particularly concerning government funding. As the court has become increasingly conservative, it has consistently resolved this conflict in favor of free exercise, expanding that protecting religious liberties requires and shrinking the scope of what the Established Clause forbids. In 2017, there's a case of the Trinity Lutheran Church of Columbia. The court, in a 7-2 decision, ruled that a church preschool couldn't be excluded from a state program providing recycled tires for playground resurfacing simply because it was a church. While seemingly benign, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, in her dissent, warned, to hear the court tell it, this is a simple case about recycling tires to resurface a playground. The stakes are higher. The court today profoundly changes that relationship by holding, for the first time, the Constitution requires the government to provide public funds directly to a church. That distinction didn't last. In 2020, the court ruled that a Montana tax credit program for private school tuition had to include religious schools. And in 2022, for Maine, the conservative majority went even further, ruling that in rural areas there is no public high school exists. The state couldn't exclude sectarian schools from programs that paid for students to attend other public or private schools. As Justice Sotomayor lamented, today the court leads us to a place where separation of church and state becomes a constitutional violation. Now we have the face of this case, a school that's in Oklahoma, which seeks state recognition and public funding as an explicitly religious charter school. Its proposed curriculum would teach kindergartners that they can communicate with God through prayer and first graders about the reality of sin, with Catholic teachings permeating the school day. While open to all students would be required to attend Mass, the Oklahoma Supreme Court initially blocked this with a 6-2 decision, citing the Establishment Clause and state constitution ban on supporting religious institutions. However, the U.S. Supreme Court's oral argument suggests a different outcome. Even with Justice Barrett recused, the inclination of several justices appear to favor religious schools. Concerns arise about the situation where such a school might claim its religious belief and allows it to educate only members of its faith or teach creationism over evolution, or to exempt from curriculum required applied to other charter schools. These examples, historically and contemporary, demonstrate that the wall of separation has always been more of a theoretical aspiration than a lived reality. From the direct participation of churches in slavery to the increasingly entanglement of religious institutions with public funding and policy, our history shows a complex, often intertwined relationship between church and state. This isn't to diminish the value of religious freedom. It's a fundamental American precept and a positive good. However, when the expansion of one freedom appears to actively erode another, the freedom from government establishment of religion, we have a problem. As James Madison wrote in 1822, religion flourishes in greater purity without than with the aid of government. The incredible shrinking establishment clause that we observe today would have troubled him. It should trouble us all. We need to move beyond the pretense of a perfectly separate past. By acknowledging the complex, often messy reality of church and state in America, we can have a more honest and productive conversation about how we truly uphold religious freedom for all without favoring one faith over another, and without allowing religious doctrines to dictate public policies in ways that undermine the rights and freedoms of all citizens.
Hell yeah. You've got my vote.
Thanks.
I've always thought this was so interesting because, like, as someone who grew up in, like, a very non-Christian or, like, Catholic, not only, like, my personal upbringing, but, like, where I grew up, it was, like, not heavily religious. And, like, the biggest, like, organized religion, it was Judaism, like, by and far, like, far and wide. But I remember, like, after I graduated high school and was, like, out of when I, like, by the time I was, like, an adult, finding out that it wasn't just on TV, that people did, or at, like, sports games, that, like, in school you would do, like, I pledge allegiance to the one nation under God or whatever. We never did that at my public school. And when I found out that, like, people did that at, like, public schools, I was, like, so confused because I'm like, wait, that, like, not at a religious school. Like, that's, you can't do that. And then for a bit, like, literally there, I was like, oh, maybe like a public religious school. But then finding out, I'm like, oh no, we were an anomaly. That's the national anthem. Like, we didn't do that there. And like, you know, we didn't, like, I never in my life until, again, I went to like a sports game and I was like, I was weird. Standing for even like God, whatever. Oh, the song, all of that shit. Like, it was just so odd to me that, like, I assumed that where I went to school, because it was a public, non-religious school, that was the norm. And then finding out that, like, public schools in other places, I'm like, oh, that's really fucking weird. Like, to me, even in like the whole thing of like, I'm a big believer in like separating like religion from schools, but like it still was already there.
Still there. Yeah. I've gone to schools all over, from in the South and the Midwest and on the East Coast. And it was the only time I actually went to a religious school was when I was in kindergarten, because it was like a Black religious school. And we walked into the elementary school and I was the only Black child there, the public one. And my mom was like, no, we're going to take you to a private school in Mississippi. Like, we're definitely not doing that.
Not fucking with that.
Yeah. So, but every school that I've ever gone to, we've done the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's how you start, or at least by second period, that's how you have the day.
Like, I used to think, I'm like, maybe I just missed it. And I remember posting it on my Instagram story, and like kids, like people from my school who I grew up with, they're like, no, we never did that. Like, that wasn't even like we didn't participate or whatever. Like, that just didn't happen at our school whatsoever. And like, it really made it so much more abundantly clear to me that I was like, oh, this is part of the fear mongering of California is bad. Because you're finding more progressive people, because in general, it's not overwhelmingly Christian or like, there is not a predominant of like, you know, the predominant religion in America is not the prominent religion where I grew up. And so therefore that is not being it's not the participation of that is then being viewed as like, oh, this is bad and this is othered. But I even remember, like, you know, the school that my elementary school is now a charter school. And like, that was like even more like off kilter and all of that. And like realizing, I'm like, oh my God, like this was still too rigid for a lot of the granola parents. And there was no religious aspects of that. But then I look at like, there was no really regulation in my elementary, like the program in my elementary school, which again is now a charter school, that I'm like, if they wanted to make that religious, they could have. They didn't. But like, when you don't have, when already the point blank, the basis of it, there is not the checks and balances that we say that there are, then when you remove the limited amount of checks and balances, like it just goes fucking buck wild. Yeah. And it's crazy. But yeah, it's a very interesting, as someone who like did not grow up religious, like I find that really, really interesting, because there's never really been any separation. So
there's never been any. It was a way that Southern churches could keep their hands clean during slavery.
And like you said, there's a lot of questions about, okay, where's all this money coming from? And like, because we all know that in order to make money, you have to have money. So where did the money come from?
I mean, it's from the congregation tithing their money.
Yeah. And
the money is supposed to go back into the whole thing is like, so then you don't force churches to say where the money is going, because the thing is, the money's supposed to be coming in and then they're donating it back out to the community. But it's not. If you have a $1.1 million endowment, you're not putting that money directly back into the community.
We could see it. We should, if you had that money that was put right back out into the community, and it's supposed to be a turnover. It's not supposed to, it's supposed to be like, you get it, it's given, get it, given, get it, given. We would see it then.
Yep.
Yeah. I always think about like the fucking Hillsong pastors who ride on private planes. Like,
they have there's so many, most of those super churches, mega churches, they have private planes, and like they're riding around in like multiple Bentleys and things like that.
Wild. Well, you're not wrong. And I'm voting for you whenever you decide you want to.
Thanks.
Whenever you said you want to go gray very early. Step into politics.
Starting.
Hey, you'll go full gray real quick with that level of stress.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back, Megan will get into hers. Is the state of the U.S. making you want to escape?
Yes. And you can take the first step and learn the language before you go. Who makes it easy, Melissa?
BAIW makes it easy.
We are so happy that we have a new sponsor. It is BAIW, and not not to fangirl too hard, we begged BAIW. We said, BAIW, we need you.
Our audience wants you and needs you and asked us, hey, who do you guys recommend for languages?
And we're happy to say it's BAIW.
Not only do sometimes I want to escape, but I also want to stay here and talk to the people here on the ground, especially in our state of California. So I want to brush up and make my Spanish stronger. I took Spanish throughout school. I took Spanish and French, but I really, really need to strengthen my Spanish. What about you?
Spanish is the language that I grew up in California. So like that is like you said, like from the time that I could talk, like the names of different streets. It was so like ingrained, handcrafted by over 200 language experts. Yeah, they are voiced by real native speakers.
Real people.
Oh, and they're built with science-backed cognitive tools like spaced repetition and interactive features to fit any learning style. I'm a big fan of BAIW games. This girl loves a game.
We both love games.
And like the sentence building stuff. So having it be in like a game format makes me feel, it doesn't make me feel like I'm learning. It doesn't make me feel like I'm being scolded in school. I'm just like learning something new, but I'm mostly playing a game.
We want you to learn another language, so we're teaming up with BAIW to give you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/don'tblameme.
Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/don'tblameme, spelled BABBEL.com/don'tblameme.
Babbel.com/don'tblameme.
Rules and restrictions may apply.
HelloFresh is going to help me enjoy my summer more because I will spend less time looking for groceries, trying to figure out like what I'm going to eat. It's just delivered straight to me, and it makes things so much easier so I can be outside basking in the sun.
Spending less time in the kitchen, more time eating delicious things, and having a great time, which is all what summer's about. This summer, HelloFresh has made it even easier to enjoy delicious, healthy, and homemade quality meals with their new ready-made meals. These heat-and-go HelloFresh meals are chef-crafted, flavorful dishes, ready in, guess how many minutes? Oh, it's just 3. So you can dig in and go do summer right.
My mouth is already watering looking at the Southwest-inspired chicken bowl and the stir-fried udon with pulled pork and veggies. There's also a creamy Alfredo truffle pasta and an Indian-inspired chicken paired with turmeric rice. Drool. These are all ready to eat after a quick spin in the microwave.
We love HelloFresh. We have sung their praises for so long. I have to give a shout out though. The Mushu pork lettuce wraps changed my life. Absolutely so good. I think it has to be one of my favorites I've ever had. Make your summer enjoyable and delicious by signing up for HelloFresh at hellofresh.com/blameme10fm and get 10 free meals with a free item for life.
That's hellofresh.com/blameme10fm for 10 free meals and a free item in every box.
HelloFresh.com/blameme10fm. 1 per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies just to see if you could save some cash? Well, Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
We're back, and it is time for mine. And mine is a statement. And that statement is, time does not equal growth or change. If someone has grown or changed, you will see it. Mm-hmm. You don't need to defend it. You don't need to provide examples. We, as a community, will have seen it. And this was like a 2-pronged inspiration for me. One is there was a journalist who went to a Chris Brown concert and interviewed people, being like, I
saw that.
Melissa, my blood pressure.
I reposted it, actually. Uh-huh.
My blood pressure just increasing, being like,
I couldn't even watch the whole thing. I only got to the 3rd person, I think, and I was like, I'm done.
Well, and it starts like, are you aware of Chris Brown's charges? One couple straight up was like, no. And I'm like, now you're just lying. Because by the way, these charges came at the peak of his career. You wouldn't know who he was then. You cannot he's not having like a second resurgence. Like he has been as famous as he is tied to those from there. So like, there's no fucking way you don't know. You're lying. And then going to being like, you know, oh, did you know that he has a restraining order against another one of his exes for violent assault, that he has been, and he's for the incident with the bottle, all of these different things. And
like recent.
Yeah. You see
very,
someone
like as in like got charged a couple weeks ago.
Yep. And you see that some people are getting increasingly more uncomfortable, and then you see one person who's getting increasingly more defensive and being like, no, he's changed. He's no, like I'm pretty sure that was like dropped, and this was like all fake, and these were lies. And it's like, you don't know. You have no record of citing that because it's not true. You have decided to tell yourself that he has changed. Therefore, this is worth it to you. And I'm seeing a similar parallel of no, they have changed in the mentality of fans from Love Island right now. And it's being like the most frustrating thing to see that that someone is allowed to be messy and they've grown and changed in 2 weeks that we've been watching them on a reality show, but they're such a different person and everybody has changed so much. So if someone makes a mistake, quote unquote mistake, and is like slightly messy or does something that is messy right now, kick them out of the villa, because look how much growth this other person has done, as if all of this time has passed and all of these people, we are all these more mature adults and all of this kind of stuff, that some people are granted this ability to change and other people are not granted even the ability to change. Not only that, not even given the time, because people that are saying, oh, they've changed. No, you've just gotten okay with it. Enough time has passed for you that you have felt comfortable with this because you're not being, judged or ostracized for supporting this person, supporting Chris Brown, whatever. You feel like enough time has passed. The wound's not as fresh. So you're like, no one's going to be that mad at me for this. But then there are other people who they don't get the benefit of time. They don't get any of that. And I see that the same thing of the results in the Diddy case, and how still Cassie is being told that like the charges that didn't stick for that were because the jury thought that, she wasn't really a real victim in that way. But he has learned and grown. Like he's moved on from this, but she is still this crazy, manipulative vixen who enticed him, and this was all her fault. We allow certain people to grow and change, quote unquote, which is just the passage of time. And increasingly we find with women, and in the case of Love Island, Black women, they don't get the opportunity to change because they don't even get the time to do it. It's just waiting for the fucking moment to be like, let me kick you out of this villa. Let me stop you here. And it is just the double standards that we hold just drive me fucking crazy and makes me irate. And the fact that Chris Brown can even fill a fucking gas station, like the fact that he can fill a Nissan Sonata with fans, but let alone paying fans to a fucking concert.
I got in a fight.
Despicable.
I got in a fight with a woman in her 50s who was talking about Chris Brown, and she was like, I can't, and this is somebody I've known since I was 15 years old. We got in a fight, and she was talking about how she loves Chris Brown and she can't wait to go to his concert. And I was like, you do? And this was like 2 days after he got arrested for the stuff overseas. And I was like, he has beat several women, not just the ones that have restraining orders against him. Several women. He's assaulted several women. He's talked to, I was like, you're a dark-skinned woman. He wouldn't even let you inside a place that, if he was hosting something, he wouldn't let you inside of it. He's only letting you go to his concert because you're paying him. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't like women. Nope. Point blank, period. He doesn't like anybody darker than a paper bag. Mm-hmm. He also is assaulting people. Like, do we not remember? It still wasn't that long ago when he was supposed to be on, was it Good Morning America? And he trashed the dressing room And he doesn't have the excuse anymore that he's a kid. That is a grown man in his 30s. He's a violent person who does not like women.
No, and then when you give him a platform and you forgive this behavior, you're telling him that this behavior is okay, and he's never stopped this behavior.
He's never going to stop, and
this
never will
behavior
stop.
has consistently
because this
happened.
is who he is.
Yeah, and then so when you take him and accept him for who he is, then you accept him for he's not telling you that he's changed because he hasn't.
Yep.
Time has passed, and you've gotten more comfortable with watching him abuse women.
And she kept saying, "Well, I like him. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care."
No, and I saw a comment on Reddit, people being like, acting at this day and age that he's still like a once in a generation talent, like is like you're actively choosing to ignore incredibly talented people who aren't obsessed with not only hating women, but assaulting women. Like this is, you are condoning those actions because, you know, you want to say like, oh, everybody's had a bad past. This is not everybody does this.
And it's not a past thing. This is very much part of his present.
Yep. It makes me so mad. And like, you know, the precedent that we've seen with like cases, and again, like the Diddy one, like we're seeing this when women want to be like, oh, well, no, you know, men can be victims too. Totally, for sure. I'm not disputing that. Most often men are victims of other men. Let's be statistically correct here. But this idea that like you can like latch onto these like court cases that are against women who have come forward about their abusers, and that still you can, in those, you think, despite the fact that hundreds of thousands of those cases happen a year, that do not go to court. And when the ones that get to court with the most famous, most powerful fucking men in the world, and ultimately you can still find a way to go, nah, that most ultimate powerful man is a victim of this woman, and then think that the trickle down effects are not everywhere of us normalizing just abusing women and that it's okay. It's just like, it's mind blowing. It's just fucking mind blowing. And the thing with Diddy, like, it just makes me like so mad. So mad.
There's also like so many white men too that are in the entertainment industry that are doing the same thing, and they're not even being brought to trial.
Nope. And this whole thing of being like, you think that the thing that finally gets brought to trial is going to be the false accusation. You think of all of the times that this happens and it does not go to trial, not because people aren't like choosing not to press charges when they are a victim of the situation. No. Even with all of that, you think the things that are finally being brought to trial for this, you want to talk about corrupt things? Sure. Karen Reed, go for that. But this idea that like, I think this man is still a victim. If we continue to do that to men, they continue to victimize women. Like it's just going to keep fucking happening. And you can't like gentle parent or compassionate love a man enough for him to turn around and treat women better. It just doesn't fucking happen like that. And yeah, makes me mad.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We are going to take a quick break and we'll be back with our next segment.
It can be overwhelming to manage a business, especially when you're first starting out. Your to-do list just keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool not only helps you out, but can simplify problems you haven't even encountered yet. And for millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify can help you easily build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. Shopify.com/realm.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on Auto Trader. Just you wait. Auto Trader.
Are you looking for a movie review show where the critic is at the top of his or her game, meticulously breaking down and explaining exactly why a film does or does not work? Well, good luck with the search, because we're having fun here on Adam Does Movies. Each and every week, I hit the big blockbusters, I cover the streamers, and I even toss in some movie news for fun. Check out the show on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and hopefully, we can do movies together. Hot.
We're back for our next segment, which is But Are You Wrong? Where you write into butamiwrongpod@gmail.com. You let us know your age. It is all anonymous. You can do a fake name, however you want to do it. And you tell us about the circumstance situation you would like to know if you are in the wrong about. Keep it under 300 words. We also have a form you can fill out that's listed on our socials, as well as linked in in the show notes everywhere. You can find it.
It's in our bio too.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what we'll do.
Also, just a reminder, this week we will be doing a But Am I Watching? We'll be recording that this week. It'll air next week for Sinners. So please write in and let us know your hot takes, your thoughts on Sinners. You can watch it on HBO Max or is it just HBO? Did they go back to HBO Max?
I
think it's back HBO Max. You can watch it on HBO Max or you can buy it wherever you buy media.
Yeah. And if anyone's brand new here and you're like, what is that? It's the same format of this show, but instead of like all of the different segments of like us bringing in things about our lives and all that stuff. So you still write in, but it's just about the premise of the movie or whatever piece of media. But in this case, it's about Sinners. Yeah. And you can get horny if you got to, guys, because I don't know how it's an inevitable thing that's going to happen.
And like I said, double trouble. I'm going to come in hot.
Is it the last one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm a 32-year-old woman and I'm single. So my best friend's mother-in-law, her husband's mom, is 58. So her best friend's husband's mom is 58. Lately, when she's been drinking, she's made some comments about being into women. And I found myself getting kind of curious about her too. Apparently, my best friend's husband even asked her, so he asked his mom, even asked her what she thought about me. And she asked if I liked older women. That kind of threw me. Now I can't stop thinking about her. And I feel like I might be catching feelings, or at least really interested. But the thing is, she's married. She has a whole family, including the person I consider my best friend. And I keep wondering, am I totally in the wrong for even entertaining this, for being attractive to her, for not shutting the whole idea down? I don't want to cross any lines or hurt anyone, but I also don't know what to do with how I feel. Any advice would help. Thank you. What really threw me is that her son.
No, that son's a fucking freak.
What do you think of my best friend's, my wife's best friend? Why are you around them so much?
Melissa, I'm like, what do you mean that this just keeps coming up? Why are you there? Why are you there? Also, are you practicing lesbian? Are you practicing gay? Like, is this, have you been in retirement? So. Because to me, I'm like, if this is like your first crush or whatever, I'm like, actually, to be fair, I have words to say regardless. If this is like your first instance of being like attracted to a woman, I would be like, okay, find another woman. If you're like, nah, I've been in this game for a while, I'd be like, oh, so then what are we doing? Like, what do you mean that we're going to pick the messiest situation possible?
Yes, you're wrong. Yes. Also, your friend's husband is wrong.
What's your friend saying?
The friend's husband's mom is wrong for even making the comment. Like, y'all are getting drunk together and she's like, hey, I like girls.
Where's the husband at the point?
Right.
Like,
is he there?
Is he
Does
also
he want to
getting
watch?
Drunk with you? Take that back. Take it back.
I'm going to take it back. I think that's a valid question. Does he want to participate? You didn't mention him that you were getting horny from him. So I'm guessing he might just want to watch or hear about it later. you're wrong.
Yeah. Like, you're wrong, and I think you're a little bit horny, and I think we could just focus on the
mommy
being...
issues.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you need a therapist, and I think you need to get dick down by not your therapist and by not this.
Dick down.
Well, I don't mean
down.
I don't mean dick down in the sense of there doesn't have to be a dick to get dicked down. I mean in the sense of you need to get
railed.
Yes, exactly. You need to get railed, and it cannot be by any of your friends' parents.
No.
I don't even want it to be your friends' cousins.
The son is really throwing me off. The son is because he's an instigator.
The son's freaking me out.
He's an instigator. He's like, yeah, mom, what do you think about her?
The son's a fucking freak. At this point, I'm like, stop being friends with him. Yeah. Tell your friend being like, your husband's a fucking freak. And then get the fuck out of there. Because I'm sorry, at what point are you in your adult life that you are like so weird and bored that you're like, let me set my mom up to cheat on my dad, assumedly, or like my stepdad.
Maybe it's a stepdad and he hates him. And he's like, you know what? I need to hook up my mom with a nice lady that I trust and I like. Let me break up her marriage.
He's looking for a stepmommy.
He's looking for a stepmommy.
This is, of all the people in this story, he is the one that I'm the most freaked out by.
Yeah. Also, like, maybe he's always been like, yeah, mom, you're gay. You need to come out the closet. And he's using you as, like, the facilitator for this.
The scapegoat.
Like, yeah, like, okay, you be her guide. Take her hand. Pull her out that closet. Can you just imagine
just having a son who's like, mom, you're gay all the time? All the while seemingly married to a man.
Yeah, but
it doesn't sound like he's wrong.
Drunk thoughts.
Are you also the only other gay person he knows? Because like maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like maybe this is just like,
yeah, that's why she's around.
Bring her to a women's club. Yeah, they go keep inviting her over. Bring your lesbian friend over.
Yeah.
Show my mom it's okay to be
it's okay to be gay, Mom.
Are you just seeing are they all wearing graphics and shirts that's like accepting love, like the rainbow? Like, are you noticing that? Like, you might be being used as like the token lesbian to assimilate his mother into the sapphic lifestyle. Like, what? And now I would say it's time for her to join a women's club.
Yeah. Yeah. Introduce her to some older ladies because this is too messy.
No,
unless you just want to be part of this family.
No, I'm sorry. That's the worst case scenario. Like the fucking son being like, no, I don't want you just to have a fling with my mom. I want you to become my stepmommy. I'm out. And if I'm you, I'm like telling my friend, divorce this fucking freak.
Nah, the writer is like, yeah, I'm into this and I can't stop thinking about her.
You know, you should link up with the co-sucking coworker. I feel like you both would.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. More age appropriate.
Yeah. You don't work together, hopefully.
Hopefully. This is, what's she name the other person? Sally.
Yeah, I was about to say it's something very basic. But yeah.
Because Ride Sally Ride.
Maybe this is Susan. Mm-hmm. Let Susan ride.
Give us an update, please. And I hope the update is, I need to know more about the father.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, give us an update, act accordingly.
Mm-hmm. And I need to know your friend's opinion on this too.
I bet in like call 2, it's going to be like, and so here's the other kicker. I'm actually married. It's going to be like, my God. I didn't include it the first time.
Single. In the first line, it says, I'm a 32-year-old woman and I'm single.
Maybe they lied.
Why lie about that when you have all this other information?
We've been having this podcast for a while. There's a lot of times where I go and we gave forth all this information, but none of that one. Okay. Yeah, do not do this unless you are like, I'm actually done being friends. Like, if you're done being friends with people, you're allowed to fuck their parents. But like, until then, don't fuck their parents. In general, I just think it's kind of like a universal rule of thumb. It's like, don't have sex with your friends' parents.
Did you see that baby shower where that man had got the woman that was close to his age pregnant, but also her mother, and they were having dual baby showers?
Are you sure that's not a story from one of my favorite best-selling authors?
Yeah. There was pictures. It was on TikTok. Pictures, video, all of it.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is why we need access to abortion.
It feels like this was a plan.
Yeah, it feels like a spreading
parties.
of a seed.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got sibling aunties and uncles. Yeah, they're both siblings and nibblings.
Mm-hmm. I just think in general, it's always good to expand our gene pool. It is never good to just go, let's make it smaller.
Let's have a wreath.
Yeah, no.
It's not a family tree, it's a family wreath.
I'm asking us to walk forward, not in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Branch out,
Climb.
Don't branch together.
Yeah.
Diversify.
All right. Next one.
So I am 23 years old, and I've been sleeping with this guy on and off for over a year. We hadn't seen each other in a while, but this past Memorial Day weekend, one of my closest friends texted me out of nowhere saying, hey, by the way, I like blank, which was his name. And if he asked me to be his girlfriend, I'm going to say yes. I had no idea they were even talking. She never told me anything. When she sent that text, it honestly felt like getting punched in the chest. I didn't even know what to say. So I just replied, okay, cool, because I was in shock and didn't want to blow up. Right after, I called another friend crying, trying to make sense of it. I kept telling myself that I don't want to be a bad friend. I didn't want to just cut her off. I wanted her to be happy. But as time went on, the sadness turned into anger, like real anger. And today I found out they're engaged, as in proposed, as in they've only, to my knowledge, been dating for a few months, max. I'm hurt, I'm mad, and I can't stop thinking about the fact that she knew everything he put me through. She knew how messed up the situation was. So now I'm wondering, am I wrong for wanting to just cut her off, or should I wait it out and see if we can ever repair the friendship? I genuinely don't know what the right thing is anymore, and I'm torn between not wanting to be petty and not wanting to be disrespectful. I think you could fuck her mom. Yeah.
Yes. Because why? You're no longer friends with this girl.
Exactly.
There's nothing to repair.
Burn it down.
Yes.
Burn it down. Fuck her mom. Fuck her mom. No, this is crazy. It's just you found out that like someone who you were close to this whole time has just been wanting to steal your life.
Yeah. And took it a step further by like texting you, be like, hey, if he asked me to be his girlfriend, like she already knew what she was doing.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like, well, what do you mean that there's even an opportunity where you would be his girl? Like you're talking? You're even speaking?
They were talking the whole time y'all were together on and off for over a year. They were fucking the whole time too.
And that's probably why I'm assuming she probably reached out to him and was interested in him because she is jealous of you and wants to be like you and wanted to feel picked.
Yep.
Some people are just fucking weird.
Yeah. I don't know how you could be such a kind and generous person, like even considering not cutting her off. Like, has she not been cut off now? As soon as she would have texted me that he's going to ask me to be his girlfriend.
Yeah.
That would have been the end of me talking to this bitch.
No, she would have never heard from me ever again.
Yeah.
Except when I was fucking her mom.
Yeah. Maybe a recorded voicemail or live.
Yeah. You're invited to a showing of me fucking your mom. This to me is like so clear that she just wants to be you. And like she wants to wear your skin. And if she can't wear your skin, she wants someone who's been inside of you to be inside of her.
Tunnel buddies.
Uh-huh. I love that term though. Tunnel buddies is so funny. So yeah, I just think that there's no realm in which you would be right for maintaining a relationship because she's only going to amp up the stakes. Do you know what I mean? Like when you want somebody's life so badly, you just keep going and you keep going and keep going. Like this isn't going to like end well. So I think you should fuck her mom.
Fuck her mom. Don't go to the wedding. Save your tears for a sad movie and not these bitches. He's a bitch. She's a bitch. Everybody's a little bitch.
Oh, that you almost did a quote from last season of Love Island of my ex a bitch, you a bitch. You're basically twin sisters.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
No, you would like her, Serena. She's like my ex a bitch, you a bitch, you twin sisters. And he said it took everything in him as the guy she's calling a bitch. He's like, it took everything in me not to laugh because I was like, damn, that was good. And they're still together to this day.
Thank you both for writing in.
Truly. And thank you especially for the prior one, because now we have a solution anytime things are going wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuck their mom.
Fuck their mom. Fuck their mom. Except for you. You were not allowed to fuck the mom. Everybody else?
I need more backstory on the mom's life.
Yeah, like, is the mom Tilda Swinton? Like, give me, like, who would play the mom in a movie? Like, are you, like, how the fuck am I supposed to deny, like, a 60-year-old Piper
like,
Bravo?
Mariska Hargitay.
Yeah, so, like, we're humans here, okay? Like, if you give us, like, who's supposed to, we might.
Queen Latifah?
Yeah, you know I love Queen Latifah. If you give us the right information, we might change our tune. But until then, I don't know this broad.
Yeah.
I don't think you should fuck her.
Okay. We're gonna take a break, and when we get back, we'll get into but are they wrong?
I'm unwell. Ooh, baby.
My name is Troy LaValle, and I'm the host of the Glass Cannon Podcast. This is a podcast where my friends and I sit around and play role-playing games and record it. Through improvisation, using comedy and drama, we take the rules of whatever game we're playing and we turn it into appointment television. It truly is infectious fun. We travel the whole country playing rock clubs, turning games like this into a spectator sport. So please, check it out, the Glass Cannon Podcast. If you want some joy in your life, give it a listen.
Hey, it's Hillary Frank from The Longest Shortest Time, an award-winning podcast about parenthood and reproductive health. We talk about things like sex ed, birth control, pregnancy, bodily autonomy, and, of course, kids of all ages. But you don't have to be a parent to listen. If you like surprising, funny, poignant stories about human relationships and, periods, The Longest Shortest Time is for you. Find us in any podcast app or at longestshortesttime.com.
How does weather work? What's the secret to having a great conversation? How do most wealthy people get that way? These are just a few of the topics we've recently covered on my podcast, Something You Should Know. Each episode covers multiple topics that are likely relevant to you. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and listen, we've got over 1,000 episodes, over 4,000 mostly 5-star reviews. I invite you to check out Something You Should Know, wherever you listen.
We're back from our break, and it's time for our final segment, which is But Are They Wrong?, where we nominate person, place, or thing, current events that we would like to publicly shame.
I would like to publicly shame Cornell Haynes Jr., a.k.a. Nelly.
I was like, that name sounds a little familiar.
So, Nelly is my wrong of the week. And I first want to say, I don't know why I gave a broke man the benefit of the doubt. And I will never do that again.
Is he broke?
You remember when you and I were discussing the inauguration? And we were like, he's got a child coming. He must be broke. Yeah. That's the reason why he's doing this.
You're right. Yep.
Never again. That was on me. That was on me. He's a man.
And broke men, they have so much time when they're not making money.
So, his decision to perform at Trump's inauguration and his subsequent defense of that choice, particularly his comments targeting Kamala Harris, have drawn considerable criticism. While he claims to have respect for the office and insists his performance was not a political endorsement, his remarks about Kamala Harris appear to contradict his neutrality. In his statement, he said, "Some of y'all have a problem with us." He's talking about Black people, but because the prosecutor who has probably locked up more Black men that we've helped women of color and the white husband and white kids did not win the election. The sentence doesn't really make sense, but what he's basically saying is that, why are y'all supporting this Black woman that has a white husband and white kids? Never mind that those kids aren't biologically hers at all.
Uh-huh.
And then it was a long attack. He says that he he criticized her. And I don't know why why he had to even bring her into the conversation. He wasn't standing on business.
Wasn't clocking to him.
No, he wasn't clocking. Furthermore, he brings up having performed at an event with then Vice President Kamala Harris previously and tried to make it seem like, I performed for her. So it wasn't that bad after he went on making disparaging, untrue comments about her. His mother-in-law, Tina, voiced the sentiment, clearly highlighting the deep emotional and historical significance of such appearances. Also, we saw that Janelle Monáe was directly yelling at him at a Grammys party. But Ashanti's mother, her father, marched during the civil rights movement. And she was very vocal on the show that they have that's on Hulu about how disappointed she was in him. And so this was a response to the clip being posted, and he responded in the comments.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing people talking about this show, but I was unaware of this part.
Yeah. Also, there's clips from the show where he says he's not changing diapers. Like, he's outright refusing to change any diapers. He does have an older child that is an adult. He's refusing to move to New York, where Ashanti has more of a support system. That's where she's from. That's where her mom lives. And he's just like, no, I'm not going.
A lot of opinions
for a man.
lot of money.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's only been one episode of this show that has come out. So
Shit.
It's just going to get worse. I'm not watching, but I am looking at recaps. And every time he's opening his mouth, I'm losing more and more respect for him.
Sounds like it.
So, fuck you, Nelly. And I will never give a man a benefit of the doubt ever again.
No, I feel like a lot of people, in general, when they got together, it looked good on him. Do you know what I mean? It made it we were blinded by our happiness of her to then be like, oh, that's still a man.
Yep.
Wow. Mine is really gross.
What is it?
No, I kind of don't want to do it again. But I will. Because I'm weirdly obsessed with this. Because I found this. It's I literally saw this months ago, and I have had it on my list to talk about. And this happened in 2022. But it's a little bit of a deep dive that I went on, and it re-sparked my interest in this because I drove by one of these establishments, which I'd never seen before. And so my nomination is the Seafood City Supermarket in University City, Missouri. So in December of 2022, it was abruptly shut down by the St. Louis County health officials due to sanitation violations, which for a grocery store, specifically a seafood specialty grocery store, is quite alarming, including water intrusion, inadequate food storage, contamination risks, and it was immediately closed. But the real problem happened afterwards because seemingly the people who owned this franchise location specifically were instructed to remove everything from it, or not even remove everything from it. It's getting shut down to sanitation violations because they had not made the adjustments and stuff that they needed to over the course of this time. And so what they needed to do was empty it. And instead they, of course, locked the doors and then did nothing with it at all. So it's a full thing. Imagine a full grocery store, seafood grocery store, abandoned. They had, and maybe this will get the animal lovers. They did leave tanks of lobster, died, of course. But it was abandoned with thousands of pounds of raw seafood left inside, unrefrigerated, decaying. And over the next few months, the smell of rotting fish permeated throughout the entire town. Estimated 8,000 pounds of seafood decomposing in the building. And the residents of the town complained of flies, a constant, disgusting smell, and a complete lack of response from the owners of the Seafood City grocery store. And the situation was so severe that the city eventually was forced to intervene, and making the University City taxpayers paid over $127,000 for emergency hazmat cleanup after the building's owners refused to do anything for it. And the crews in the hazmat suits, they removed tons of spoiled seafood. But since then, the lasting mark on the community has been legal disputes, public outrage, all of this kind of stuff. And it's wild. And then how I saw this on a TikTok, which I thought they phrased this very well. It might have been just something called Echo Vault. Digging at forgotten moments, niche events, and pure nostalgia. But their like conclusion of this I thought was very well worded. The bizarre and disturbing episode turned a failed supermarket into a biohazard site and serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of neglect, failed health compliance, and the high cost of cleaning up corporate irresponsibility. Essentially, in the sense of like corporate greed can trickle down into something as like you might not be Bezos, but like you are a grocery store in a community. You do have power and privilege there. And when we have this mentality of, again, corporate greed and non-compliance with health organizations specifically, you can wreak absolute havoc in these small towns. And it's just fucking crazy. So it freaks me out.
Why didn't they just give it away?
I think because they probably couldn't have, because it was like marked as like a health and safety concern and a hazard. But people even said who are from that area being like, there's no, like, I would never, like, you could smell it from the street before it was even, they were even it was even shut down. So in my family, I used to go here all the time. All the seafood was live and you could pick it out with tongs. It's crazy to see. I remember my dad telling me a while back what happened. Very, very eerie. And I guess this is like not an uncommon thing where someone was like, literally, how is this third supermarket I've heard of getting abandoned like this? Like this whole thing of like, if you can't maintain and come up to health codes, just quite literally like abandoning ship when the ship is full of food and stuff. And that becomes, again, like toxic waste, like it a biohazard.
So what did they do with it?
Do what? Who did what?
When they cleaned it out, like where did they take it?
I have no idea. Like they're in hazmat suits and they have it all like packaged up in different things. And I think once you let it get to that certain point, like it becomes like an emergency.
There's
and
so
it
much
has to be
bacteria that's in there.
It has to be, it can't be like thrown in the trash. It cannot be
That's
near
what I'm
any water
asking.
sources. And like, but all of that could have been avoided if they hadn't done this. So very freaky. And I hope these people never buy another grocery store. Yeah. The way that people don't really view food as like anything that can grow bacteria can like quite literally become like a weapon. And like it has to be treated with that level of care. And the same thing of like people who are like drinking raw milk or saying like fuck it to botulism and like letting babies have honey and all of that shit. I'm like, I don't think you understand that like
babies with honey is a choking hazard.
Well, but even the botulism part, like honey can the bacteria of that. But I'm just like, you do understand that like these bacterias and this kind of stuff, like that's this whole like, you know, it's all about individual agency in this. Once there's a bacteria that is getting it is not just a you thing. If it's a consumable and bacteria grows and festers in all these different ways, and it's just like fucking freaky. So that was mine. The end.
Yuck.
Yeah. But seeing these like people in hazmat suits with like just like grocery carts like full of shit. And I drove by a Seafood City and I said, no way.
Okay. Anything fun you want to share?
Did you see the fireworks warehouse that exploded?
No.
I know you said good and like fun or anything. Yeah. No, there's a fireworks warehouse that exploded in California yesterday. And I have questions. I have to assume it's like one of the corporate kind of ones where it's like, so like you're allowed to have like fireworks shows at like county fairs. Like it has to be a very specific kind of thing because like you can't sell fireworks here. So I have to assume it's one of those, which means that they're like really way bigger deals with this. But it is getting a wee bit sketchy because there's 7 people missing in like who have not been accounted for. And like the county is like, you know, it's probably going to take like a year to do the investigation. And like everybody's been like evacuated from this because like they're, you know, worried about more things and more chemicals in the air and like all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because if you have fireworks that are stored in this area, I would have to assume that there's always a potential threat of this happening. And like, what do you mean that like these people are unaccounted for and then it's going to take a year to figure out what happened?
Yeah, that sounds weird.
Doesn't it?
It wasn't in LA, was it?
No, it's near, it's like Firework County, which is like, you know, closer to central LA.
Last night, though, I'd say around like 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I hear, I literally thought it was a machine gun going off. Then I hear a whole bunch of children screaming, and I was like, fuck.
Yep.
Like, I was like, do I need to get on the ground? But then I hear the boom that shook the whole street. I'm assuming it shook my house. And it was a firework.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why?
I think those specific ones, which I always call like the sparkling fireworks, where it sounds like a machine gun and then it has the big boom.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, you shouldn't have any of them, period.
No,
but even
that, like, it's just like we were talking about this yesterday, but just like planning on like what, if the kids wanted to see fireworks or whatever. And I was like, I'll be real. Like our drive home last year from my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's place, I'm like, it literally felt like we were driving through active fire because everywhere, like, Mott's like trying to focus on the road, but every single direction, it's like boom, 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 fireworks. And we can see them all from the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you would think that after the fucking year we had, maybe we wouldn't.
I will say in my neighborhood, it's a lot less than it was the previous years.
No, it used to start in like April or May. As soon as it stopped raining, you'd have fireworks every single night.
Mm-hmm.
We've only heard like 2 or 3 since then. And I'm like, oh, this
I've heard
is
a
remarkable.
Few. It's more than 2 or 3, but it's remarkably less.
I mean, before
than
this
been.
week, before July like kicked off, we'd probably only heard a handful of times. Now I'm hearing it almost every night since of this week. But I was like, okay, let's not do that again.
I did see this news story. I don't know how old it is or how new it is, but it was this girl who was kind of like a loner in school. And she had been friends with people like when they were in like middle school and junior high, but she kind of got social anxiety when she got in high school and stopped talking to people really. But every night she'd go home and like make beautiful paintings out of people that she used to be friends with. And when they were graduating, she gave it to each of them.
Oh my
and they're
God.
Beautiful.
Wow. If you find the links, I would love to see that.
Yeah, I've got it bookmarked.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. You had a great time with us. Oh, great time. Great Scott. And that's it. Don't forget to vote for an upcoming episode, for this episode. Vote for who you think was wrong. And write in for our segments. Again, if you have like a hot take or a rant or whatever, you can also do that. Send that to the same form. Send that to the same email. We love to include that. Can't wait to hear an update from the wannabe fucking your friend's mom. And
yeah. Thank you so much. Remember to write in with your hot takes about sinners. And we will circle back. Goodbye.
Bye. This is a Sister Sign production hosted by me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melissa D. Montz, plus Diamond Imprint Productions.
Post-production by Coco Lorenz.
Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson.
And music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Are you looking for a movie review show where the critic is at the top of his or her game, meticulously breaking down and explaining exactly why a film does or does not work? Well, good luck with the search, because we're having fun here on Adam Does Movies. I talk to you like we just got done seeing a movie together, giving you the pros and cons, and I'm digging in the trenches, in the mud and muck, on streaming services, telling you which films are worth your time. Each and every week, I hit the big blockbusters, I cover the streamers, and I even toss in some movie news for fun. Because this show is Adam Does Movies. I'm obviously Adam, I probably should have led with that, but perhaps I have led you to check out the show on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and hopefully we can do movies together. Hot.
Oh, hey there, it's a promo for a podcast. Great! Exactly what you want to hear when you're settling down to listen to the podcast you actually want to listen to. Well, give me just a few seconds and then you can go listen to whatever it is you're listening to, your true crime podcast hosted by former child actors or reality stars, whatever it is. My name is Troy LaValle and I'm the host of the Glass Cannon Podcast. This is a podcast where my friends and I sit around and play role-playing games and record it. Through improvisation, using comedy and drama, we take the rules of whatever game we're playing, and we turn it into appointment television. That's the best way I can explain it. It truly is infectious fun. We travel the whole country playing rock clubs, turning games like this into a spectator sport. So please, check it out, the Glass Cannon Podcast. If you want some joy in your life, give it a listen.
Hey, it's Hillary Frank from The Longest Shortest Time, an award-winning podcast about parenthood and reproductive health. There is so much going on right now in the world of reproductive health, and we're covering it all. Birth control, pregnancy, gender, bodily autonomy, menopause, consent, sperm, so many stories about sperm, and of course the joys and absurdities of raising kids of all ages. If you're new to the show, check out an episode called The Staircase. It's a personal story of mine about trying to get my kids' school to teach sex ed. Spoiler, I get it to happen, but not at all in the way that I wanted. We also talk to plenty of non-parents, so you don't have to be a parent to listen. If you like surprising, funny, poignant stories about human relationships and, periods, The Longest Shortest Time is for you. Find us in any podcast app or at longestshortesttime.com.